hopefully they're starting to see what you can do when you operate more efficiently.
This week, 12 News sits down with the superintendent of Jackson Public Schools, Dr. Errick Greene. We'll talk about teacher pay raises, school closures, and the district's strategic priorities. It's a 12 News exclusive that you'll only find here this Sunday on Mississippi Insight. I'm Byron Brown. Thank you for joining us for this July 28th edition of Insight. The superintendent of Jackson Public Schools says that the district is open for business as it prepares for the new school year. Dr. Errick Greene says despite the recent challenges faced by JPS, the district's educators are excited to get back to work. Those challenges include the board decision to close 11 schools and merge 2 others. We spoke with Dr. Greene Tuesday in this 12 News exclusive interview. Dr. Greene, let's talk a little bit about this year. You guys increased salaries for teachers across the board. What, a pretty good increase, and you guys say you're going to be one of the highest paid teachers in the metro area. What made you go that route, and what impact will it have?
Well, as you know, we've been dealing with a teacher shortage, really labor shortage for some time, but it's only exacerbated since and beyond the pandemic. And so we're competing with other districts. We're competing within the district, one school to another, schools to central office. Everybody's looking for good, smart, caring people. And so we know we needed to try to increase our competitiveness in that regard. But the reality is we're now competing even against other fields. Folks can leave education and go to retail, go to fast food, go to some of the other jobs, of course, in this area, Nissan and some of the other employers, and make really good wages. And so we knew we had to do something big. One, to show our teachers and other educators and team members that we care about them, that we value their work, but also to try again to be as competitive as possible, to stabilize our staffing so that we can do the work that we know we've got to do.
This is a $5,000 across-the-board raise, basically, for teachers at minimum amount.
No.
Kind of explain how this works.
No, I want to clarify that. We raised the minimum of our local supplement to $5,000, but the actual increase that teachers will receive is somewhere on an average of about $2,500.
Okay.
We were already about averaging at about just under $2,500 for our local supplement. We increased that minimum local supplement to $5,000. So I want to clarify that the increase that folks will receive is not $5,000. The minimum supplement amount is $5,000, and so the increase is about, on average, $2,500, which is still nothing to sneeze at. And again, it does position us as the highest paid, at least right now, until others make a shift, highest paid for teachers, highest paid district in the area.
What impact have you had since that was announced, and what have you seen? It's been a couple weeks now since that made the announcement. What are we seeing as far as?
So we're already seeing at some of our both the hiring fairs that we've had, as well as just calls and entreaties that folks have made to our office. We've already seen an uptick in that. We do still have some vacancies, but we're hopeful that we'll start to get those vacancies filled. Some folks coming back to us from other places, and others just seeing us as a viable option for them now. It's exciting, and it's, of course, to fill vacancies and bring in new talent, but also, again, acknowledging the talent that we have and the hard work that folks have to do. Getting our kids to high levels of success, you got to do that regardless of what we pay you. We know that we've got to pay you well in order to keep you and encourage you and demonstrate our value. And so both are true. We've got to work hard, and we want to pay our people. And
for the hourly employees, there's a $2 to $7 increase. Talk about that a little bit.
Right. Well, there are new labor laws that are required for exempt employees and those folks and the minimum salary that they must make. But we knew and have known as we've been studying our compensation of our hourly employees that we've got to do, again, something really, really big to impact them. Folks are struggling. And regardless of what you make, when you go to the store and when you go to the gas station and when you're paying your utilities and all these things, you see the strain that you now have in your pockets and in your bank accounts. versus times past. And so we just have to be real about that. I like to say that we're being more honest and more realistic about the cost of this business, this work that we do. We're a people business. Our biggest asset is our people. And so we've got to pay in order to have the good, talented, caring people doing this work that's so important to us.
And I know there's always been a shortage of bus drivers and stuff. Are you seeing more people applying for those jobs now that you've seen the wage increase in those areas?
Yeah, we're actually looking pretty good coming into the midpoint of the summer in terms of hiring of our bus drivers for those roles, and that was before we announced the increases. And so I'm hopeful that any of our vacancies will be filled and that we'll have more of the reserves. That too is a challenge for us sometimes. You may have enough drivers, but if someone is sick or has some family emergency and they have to be off, how do you cover those routes, doubling those routes up? So I think we're going to be in really good position in terms of our bus drivers, our custodial team members, our cafeteria, our child nutrition workers, teachers assistants, office assistants, those people who work in our school offices and help to keep our records and help with enrollment and all that. All really important roles that we're now better positioned to attract and retain those individuals.
JPS announced the closure of 11 schools, the merger of 2 other schools. You said at the time that not taking action, such action would jeopardize the entire district. In hindsight, are you satisfied with the optimization plan that you have in place right now?
I am. We desperately, and I think we laid out a clear argument. There are those who took exception with it and didn't quite understand, but hopefully they're starting to see what you can do when you operate more efficiently. These raises that we're giving and will continue to look for, even into the future, ways to increase salaries and better position ourselves as a district. Those things are made possible because we're operating more efficiently, because we're not operating more buildings than we need to, more classrooms than we need to, not pumping money into buildings that we simply don't need because we could serve those children in other buildings. And so both with the state increased funding as well as the savings to the tune of about $10 million from optimization, though that's how we're able to invest in our people and increase their salaries. We're pumping another $13+ million into salaries for our team members. That's nothing to sneeze at. And so we're excited to be able to do that because we've made some of those tough decisions and choices around optimization and otherwise.
Some Jacksonians are concerned about the closing of these schools, but you said you would repurpose about 17 of those buildings. Where do you stand on the repurposing of buildings?
We have the buildings, we in this repurposing initiative, we have what's called an ongoing or rolling kind of deadline for when we'll review proposals. We've already received a number of proposals. I'm not sure exactly how many as yet, and we'll start to review the first batch of those proposals. Some folks, as I understand it, are looking to purchase outright. Some others are looking to lease or to redevelop those schools and properties. And so it's moving. There's been a lot of interest in the buildings. A lot of current operating nonprofits or organizations, churches, et cetera. Folks who want to expand the work that they do and the space in which they're doing that work. And so we're excited to see that. Excited to look through those proposals, and obviously we've got to do our due diligence and make sure that the things that they say they're going to do with those buildings, whether it's an after-school program or athletics facility or what have you, that they have the wherewithal to make good on that, so that we can see these facilities being utilized in really important ways and ways that provide benefit to the communities.
Will any of the buildings be abandoned, left abandoned, or is your goal to make sure that every building is being used in some way?
Oh, our goal is to repurpose every building. Obviously, that's going to depend on the demand. Where there's opportunity and demand for entities that exist within Jackson, or perhaps others who might want to redevelop, especially thinking of housing or mixed use, for some of the properties, but our expectation is that every building will ultimately be repurposed. Even if it comes to demolishing the building and creating some kind of green space or something else that could be utilized within the neighborhoods and not create concerns around abandoned, vandalized, or misused property.
I know you've talked about the dwindling numbers of students enrolled in the district. Where were you and where are you today as far as the numbers and how is the district as far as the shrinking population?
Last year, this past school year, we were just south of 18,000 scholars, and so making us the third largest district now in the state. We are anticipating a little less than that for this school year, but thankfully the decline is leveling off. We're not seeing such steep declines. 1,000, 1,400 or so scholars lost each year from year to year. We're not seeing that much of a decline, but we are anticipating another decline, but also excited to see that enrollment this year is already much farther ahead than what we've seen in years past. So I don't know if folks are just being more disciplined about enrolling sooner, or if this is a signal that we're leveling off or perhaps starting to see an incline, an increase in enrollment. It's too early to tell, but we're excited that folks are enrolling. That allows us to plan better. It allows us to staff better and to ensure that the materials and equipment and technology devices and all the things that scholars might need to meet with success, that we have those in place.
How many teachers do you have right now and how many teachers do you need to be fully to where you would like to be?
I don't have the exact numbers, but we hover around 1,400 or so teachers. I know we've still got a couple hundred vacancies throughout the district, but that's inclusive of all of the various roles. We can get the exact vacancies to you, but the good thing that we see is that we're able to adjust more readily with classes and between schools where there are vacancies to backfill. And again, we're starting to see more people interested in joining Team JPS. So we're excited about that.
Do you have enough teachers? And is there a certain teacher ratio that you want to have as far as teacher-student ratio that you're trying to keep?
Well, there are state requirements, and so 27 to 1 scholars to 1 teacher in elementary, 20 to 1 in our primary or early childhood classrooms, and up to about 30 or so in our secondary. And so we want to stay below that. And even with the consolidations and closures and all, we're still tracking far lower than those state requirements. And so we expect to continue to maintain those sizes. That obviously you want to be mindful of that as teachers think about the various needs within the classroom and their ability to meet those needs of the scholars in the classroom. So we're not concerned about classes being overloaded. There are vacancies still, and we are using various ways to fill those, whether it's retired teachers supporting us, continuing to hire and recruit. We've also got a number of international teachers who joined our team, and we'll have more who are joining us. Our folks in the human resources department are really being creative and thinking about how we best stage and staff our classrooms to give our scholars what they need.
Do you feel like JPS is getting the support from the Department of Education and state leaders that you need?
Yes, I would say we definitely are. We're getting clearer about what we need and what we don't need, right? We don't need another superintendent or additional principals at each building and that sort of thing. We don't need that. We do need partners in helping us to see the things that perhaps are working in some other places that we might be able to adapt for our schools here. We don't claim to have all of the answers. We do have some. In some cases, we needed flexibility and room to do what we need to do here, which is going to be a bit different in many cases than what you see in many of the tiny districts around the state. And thankfully, I believe the Mississippi Department of Education is more responsive to that and not trying to create this cookie cutter approach across all districts where it just doesn't work that way. The other thing, though, that I have to lift up is the increased funding, whether it's between the legislature and Mississippi Department of Education. There's very clearly a nod towards the need to invest in our schools, invest in our people, and it's because of that, in some part at least, that we're able to do some of the things we've been able to do.
Governor Tate Reeves says that he wants to follow Louisiana's lead and require displays of the 10 Commandments in public schools. Any thoughts on that?
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the state. You know, there's lots of folks who have very strong views on we should teach this, we shouldn't teach that. I imagine that we'll have lots of rich discussion as to what's truly most important. And frankly, at some point, you know, can you read at all? And can you read with the level of sophistication that gets you to comprehension? What we ask you to read, we can debate that all day long, and likely there will be opportunities for local districts and communities to have some voice in that. But I think at this point, let's continue to focus on ensuring that all of our scholars can read for understanding, and read in ways that kind of arm them with an ability to have a point of view, and to express that through their own writing and reading.
Dr. Greene, what are your strategic priorities moving forward?
Well, as you know, we just launched our new strategic plan for 24 through 2029, and we've got 5 big commitments in that plan. One is obviously our bread and butter, teaching and learning, ensuring that it's innovative and that it meets kids' needs. 2 is just having the talented individuals and teams to do the work, and so focusing on developing folks, developing the teams and the collaboration between team members and whole teams. 3 is JPS Joy. We used to focus on, more especially on joy in the learning environment for scholars, but now understanding that we've got to be more intentional about creating and maintaining joy for all individuals, and that will lead directly to outcomes for scholars. Number 4 is organizational effectiveness, whether it's about our facilities and repurposing or managing our budget more tightly and closely, or any investments that we want to make in people and business and schools, et cetera. Just being more effective in the way that we organize ourselves and do the work that we set out to do, and holding ourselves accountable for the things that we say we're going to do. Lastly is just ensuring that, I say just, but it's no small feat, ensuring that, that our scholars have strong finish with us, that they start strong, but also that they finish strong, that they've got clear pathways for where they go next in life, that they know kind of the learning path that they're on, the career path that they're on, all those things. So those are our big priorities.
What is your message to JPS families who have kids be attending JPS schools this school year? We're
open for business. We're excited. We had a lot of challenges, I would say, over the last several years that we've fought through. I was able to address our principals earlier today in our Leadership Institute, and you know, kind of our mantra right now is that we're going through. We had some setbacks that were setups for the come up, and that's around facilities. We had lots of transition with regard to facilities and renovations in buildings that we're now moving back into buildings that are far more conducive to learning. We've got more of the staffing that we need. The morale is strong. The energy in the room this morning was palpable. And there are leaders who absolutely care and are committed to seeing our scholars achieve. And so parents and scholars will return to schools where people love and care about them and who are committed to seeing them meet with success, relentless in that commitment.
Well, when you and I were young, it was a commercial or two in the elections, and maybe a stump speech came to the courthouse square. Now it's hours and hours on cable TV. It's talk radio every day, and so there's more of that. And then for some reason, well, it seems like the internet emboldens people to say things that you and I wouldn't say to each other face to face, because it would just be so rude. There's something that I think you've seen and that I've seen that people are seeing in the internet that is not healthy in public discourse, and we just have to work against that and guard against it. We need to be forceful on our positions and be for a strong defense and for a strong border and against this wild inflation that we've had, but we can do so without endangering people's public safety.
That was U.S. Senator Roger Wicker speaking with 12 News' Walt Grayson about the bitter tone and rhetoric of modern American political discourse. The Mississippi Republican is seeking re-election in November. We'll bring you Walt's interview with Senator Wicker and his Democratic challenger Ty Pinkins next Sunday, August 4th on Mississippi Insight. We're back in a moment. Big thanks to JPS Superintendent Dr. Errick Greene for joining us this week. We'll be back next weekend with more of the political and current affairs coverage that you demand. I'm Byron Brown from all of us here at 12 News. Make it a great weekend.